Hello there. Welcome to yet another episode of Demystifying Microsoft. Today we'll be discussing Microsoft licensing, specifically the transition from what's known as an EA, an enterprise agreement, to what is known as CSP, Cloud Solution Provider Agreement. So the focus today will be on the transition from an EA to CSP, and we'll dive into that in a few moments here. My name is Wade Walker. I'm the Vice President of the Microsoft Alliance here at Sourcepass. And we are the newly minted, this is actually very exciting. We are the newly minted Sourcepass Center of Excellence for Microsoft. That just happened yesterday. So again, the timing of this is great and very exciting. So now at the Sourcepass Center of Excellence for Microsoft, aka the Sourcepass MCOE, we are live now with a new website. The website is sourcepassmcoe.com. And you can go there. It went live yesterday. It looks great, by the way. So great job to the marketing team and everybody who contributed to that. For those who know my face or my name or a lot of other of us, we used to be known as Big Green IT. We merged with Sourcepass not quite 2 years ago. I'm looking down at my calendar, about a year and a half ago, and a lot of work by the team to do a rebranding. And so now we are the Sourcepass Center of Excellence for Microsoft. And again, our new website is sourcepassmcoe.com. In my role as the VP of Microsoft Alliance, I'm committed to help transforming complexity into clarity within the Microsoft ecosystem. And together at the MCOE, for the Sourcepass MCOE, and see, I got to get used to saying it. I just fumbled over it myself. And at the Sourcepass MCOE, we're also helping companies navigate this complexity, go through licensing discussions like this, as well as deployments, support, and using our many years of experience to help everybody navigate through the Microsoft ecosystem. Now we're going to transition into the purpose of this podcast here, which is discussing the EA to CSP transition. So quick tip here, the first quick tip, most important thing for you is how to save time and how to save money. Two of the most important things in the world are time and money. Managing them effectively makes all of us more successful. And we're going to start off here with a quick tip on first, how to save time. I'm going to give a little bit of background information. I'm not going to get too deep in this presentation. We can talk with anybody afterwards to get a deep dive in, but I'm going to give a little bit of a high level to talk about an EA and CSP and compare and contrast and focus now on how we can save time in the transition from an EA to a CSP. For those familiar with EAs, and I purchased them myself when I was running IT departments many years ago, there used to be a limit of you had to have 250 users, then 500. 3-4 years ago, it moved to 2,400. It's bouncing up again. So Microsoft has been moving the requirements for the EA, and in late last year, I think it was November of 2024, announced that some companies in this kind of mid-market SMB, SMC size, between 500 and 2,400, and maybe even a little bit higher, aren't going to be able to renew. So an EA agreement, enterprise agreement, licensing agreement is a 3-year license agreement. You can't move your licenses down during that time. You stay the same or move up. So for the next 3 years, we're going to have a rolling 3-year calendar of companies coming up for renewal on their EA. And at that time, we've helped a lot of companies analyze their EA and look at where we can save time and money with a CSP agreement. Been very successful in doing that, and that's going to speed up now since Microsoft has raised the bar again for the minimum commitment on enterprise agreements. Don't write notes here, but there are 4 key sizes of EAs in the commercial space. Level A, which we don't see a lot anymore, is at 500 to 2,400 seat. That Microsoft raised the limit to 2,400 back 3 years ago when the new Commerce Experience NCE for CSP was really kicking off and going strong. Level B is a little bit higher, goes up to 6,000 seats. Level C, 6,000 to 15,000 seats, and level D, 15,000 and above. So the level A and level B categories we're already noticing with our customer base that they're getting some notice that they cannot renew their EA and are going to have to move to a CSP. Nice thing about a CSP, and we'll transition out of the details of an enterprise agreement, we'll transition to CSP. The nice thing about a CSP agreement is there's no levels, there's no minimum commit, you don't have to do an annual true up, and you've got more billing options. So you get to save some time here by setting up some billing options and license term options that fit the needs of your business. One of the most popular license terms we see in the cloud solution provider CSP model for licenses, and specifically I'm talking about Microsoft 365 licenses. So think your Microsoft 365 Business Basic, Business Standard, Business Premium, E3, E5, things like that. In CSP, you can choose monthly term monthly billing, which has a little bit of a premium in price. You can choose annual term monthly billing, which has a lesser premium, but a little premium flexibility. And you can choose annual term annual billing. In addition, there are some subscriptions that have a 3-year term or a triennial term, and you can pay 3 years upfront or annually. So as you can see here, you've already got more flexibility with your licensing terms in CSP, as well as your payment terms. And we'll get to the saving money in a few minutes as we talk about how to save money. But in saving time, you're giving yourself the flexibility to choose license options and not being forced into a 3-year term. And then in addition, something I mentioned is you don't have to do an annual true up. For those familiar with an enterprise agreement, an EA, every year you would have to do an annual true up, count your licenses, go through not really an audit because an audit is a specific term, but an assessment, and make sure everything was trued up. True up is gone, so no more spending time on true ups. I used to get a little stressed and I would do a true up every year. And maybe that's just me, but we see that for our customers as well. And being able to be in an evergreen agreement on CSP and add licenses as you need is way helps your time out so much. Also, kind of helping out with time is you can change your license quantities at the end of each term. So if you choose a monthly term, annual term, or a triennial 3-year term, then you can change those licenses as needed. Also, another time saver is you get to use the Microsoft 365 Admin Center to manage your licenses. Don't have to go into the EA portal or the Volume License Services Center, the VLSC. So it makes it a little easier to save time by just going to one portal to manage your licenses. Also, you can have licenses kind of be upgraded, and you can switch from monthly billing to annual billing or monthly term to annual term. So you've got some flexibility there to meet your business needs. Another time saver we find, I didn't expect this would be a big time saver, but it turns out it is. You have a direct billing relationship with us, the partner, instead of Microsoft. So if you have any questions, you need any guidance, licensing can get really confusing. And I joke that I've got a big chunk of my brain right here that loves Microsoft licensing. And let us figure out the Microsoft licensing rules, regulations, the best fit for you and your business. It's a little harder when you're dealing directly with Microsoft. When you get an EA, you do buy it through a reseller, but having the CSP gives you more intimate relationship with your partner, and then in discussing the licenses, and then choosing a license, a subscription that fits each of your employees' needs. Since it is again the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, it's one portal, one pane of glass, so to speak, to manage all your licenses. So a lot of good time savings there. There's also a lot of trial purchases, which is great. So you can try out something for typically a month. So let's say if you're like you've got a new project or you've got some new hires, you're like, hey, this is kind of interesting. I kind of want to try Microsoft 365 E3 or the new security add-on to Microsoft 365 Business Premium, and you don't want to pay for it. If a trial is available for them, and Microsoft changes where trials become available, but if a trial is available for that subscription, then you get to try it for a month. So a really nice feature as well of saving you some time is test before you buy, right? Do a test drive, see if it fits. And if it is, great, you can get it. If not, great, we'll help you end that free trial and then move on to the next subscription that's the best fit for you. So we just hit on the how we're going to save you time moving from an enterprise agreement to a cloud solution provider, a CSP agreement. Next quick tip is saving money. And I've already mentioned a few ways where we can save money. We're going to dive a little deeper into this right now because Hey, who doesn't love money, right? Who doesn't love more cash flow, more dollars in your accounts, and being able to manage that a little more effectively? So one thing I mentioned is you can mix and match subscriptions and terms. So for example, you can have a Microsoft 365 Business Premium subscription that can be a year or it can be a month. And then you can fit people into that based on their needs. So consider the scenario of seasonal employees, right? We're getting to summertime. A lot of companies hire some summertime interns, whatever. We can now, through CSP, give that license, give that subscription to them, give them business premium for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever you need. And then when that seasonal employee relationship is over, you can then end that license. So great way to save money is to only buy a license for what you need and for the duration of what you need it. Again, an EA is a 3-year term. So if you wanted to add something into your term, it goes, or into your 3-year term, you can't change it during that term because you don't get to choose a monthly option or an annual option. You only get a 3-year option. So this is one of the big areas we see savings for our customers, especially those that have seasonal employees or just have hiring. Maybe it's not season, it's just you hire at the end of a month or a quarter because you do a lot of tax returns, which is seasonal, but you just have some spiking of personnel, maybe in some hospital settings or healthcare settings where you can spike up and down depending on needs and load. That's a great way to save money and get a license and subscription that fits the timeline for the person who's getting it. Next, with a monthly payment option, gives you more control over your dollars, so over your operating expense dollars, which in essence improves your cash flow management. So if you want to pay annually for an annual term license, you can. If you want to pay monthly, slight uptick that went live April 1st from Microsoft, just a 5% uptick, but then you get to manage your cash flow. So instead of paying for 1 year, 12 months all up front, or 3 years if you did that in an enterprise agreement, you can pay monthly. I'd say 90+% of our customers choose the monthly option. They might choose some annual options for payment options for some scenarios, but most of them choose the monthly option to give the flexibility of ramping up and down licenses and for managing cash flow within their organization. Another way to save money is you renew when you need to. So if you've got a subscription with a monthly term or annual term, you renew at the end of that monthly term or annual term. You don't have to wait at the end of the 3-year term. Another big win. And then this one, the next one coming up, Money Saver, it's on something called software assurance. Software assurance is popular on server products. Think Windows Server, SQL Server. I don't think anybody's buying Exchange Server anymore. We're all doing email in Microsoft 365. But those server products in an EA require software assurance. Some of the key benefits of software assurance are any upgrades to products during that 3-year term, you get for free. So if you Windows Server 2025 is out now, so if you had software assurance and you're on Windows Server 2022, you get it for free. Another benefit of software assurance that was popular was a high availability site. Didn't have to pay for licenses or like an HA failover site. There are other benefits as well, but most of our customers weren't using those very much. And not having to do software assurance, it isn't available in CSP, but there's something called CSP subscriptions that have many similarities to software assurance, including the upgrades that we've seen over the past few years. Many of our customers move their server products, Windows Server, SQL Server, to the CSP model, and either buy the one-time perpetual license, which gives you that license in perpetuity. So you can go buy Windows Server right now, 2025, perpetual license, doesn't give you the upgrades, but maybe you don't ever need an upgrade, right? Maybe that server is only going to be in your existence in your data center for a year or two, and then you're going to move it to Azure or something like that, or you're going to retire it and replace it with something else. So we're seeing a lot of interest in the CSP server model, both the one-time purchase for subscription, I'm sorry, the one-time perpetual purchase, and then for server software, there's also a 1-year term and a 3-year term where you can pay upfront or monthly. And we're seeing a lot of interest in that CSP subscription model for for server subscriptions. Another way to save money, which I've hit on a couple of times, is you don't have minimum license quantities. So in an EA, whatever your minimum was when you signed up for it in the past, be it 500, be it $23.99, $24.00 now, there is no minimum in CSP. So you can buy one, you can buy two, you can buy 2,500 if you want, but no minimum license quantities, which is great. Also, in that, jumping back to the server scenario, Windows Server, SQL Server, whilst the CSP model for Windows Server, SQL Server is becoming very, very popular, there are those customers that want kind of like a 3-year term, like an enterprise agreement, but not all of the rules and restrictions. For that, what we'll do is we'll marry a CSP for Microsoft 365 licenses and then something called an MPSA, Microsoft Product Services Agreement, which is very similar to EA, and it is a 3-year term. We'll see an MPSA for some server products. I'm not going to get into the MPSA now because we don't have that scenario happening a lot. It's mostly CSP perpetual and CSP server subscriptions for the server products, but just know there's some flexibility in there to add to the MPSA. And the combination, again, of CSP plus MPSA is not uncommon and is another way to save money. Another key area to saving money, and I love this one, because Microsoft will give incentives, rebates, discounts, and they're shifting their incentives, rebates, discounts more towards CSP. I just got an email yesterday on some extension of some discounts on Copilot and some other promotions going on. So as Microsoft puts more and more of their investment dollars for discounting, for rebates, for incentives into CSP, the customer, benefits from it because then you will be paying less money for those products that Microsoft is putting these programs towards, which is definitely a win for everybody. And then lastly, on saving money here, people don't always talk about this when they're talking about EAs, but a lot of EAs include an Azure subscription. There's an Azure EA model subscription. In CSP, it's called Azure Plan. You get a lot more flexibility with the Azure Plan subscription. You can have multiple subscriptions all under multiple Azure plans, and then that invoicing comes from us. So it's a centralized invoicing. You don't pay, there's no prepayment. EAs have historically had a prepayment for Azure, and some older EAs used to have a minimum commit for Azure as well. So there's a lot of times we would see a minimum $1,000 spend on Azure. Even if the customer was not spending $1,000, they still had to pay $1,000. So that's the last area I want to hit on saving money is what's called Azure Plan and CSP, and using that instead of the Azure EA licensing model as another way to save some money here. Okay, so I have now finished the highlights of hitting into the time and money. So as a quick tip, I'm just going to review this real quick. We're here to help you in the transition from an enterprise agreement, EA, to a CSP agreement, Cloud Solution Provider Agreement, for Microsoft licensing. When your EA ends, we can help, our licensing experts can help analyze all of your licenses and to get the right fit for you and your team into a CSP model, and then choose subscription terms and billing terms that fit what your needs, monthly, annual, triennial, and then managing everything in the Microsoft 365 admin portal, and then applying whatever discounts and promotions we can from Microsoft to you. So for me, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to attend another one of our Demystifying Microsoft series. Be on the lookout on your favorite social channel for the next one of these events. Have a great day, everybody.